Alright, we're back. This is the practice test 2A, unit 2A, practice, whatever you want to call it. This is the third page, number 8, and I probably could have done this on the last video, but whatever. I didn't realize it was just one question. I forgot. My fault. So I'm just going to do this page and the next page, okay? So we're going to go 8 through, 13. Alright. So number 8, which graph represents y as a function of x? Notice on this question, it's asking for which one is. It doesn't have the not thrown in there, because it usually throws people off. And it's blurry again. Stupid camera. It's like I tried to focus and it didn't work. Okay, so which one is a function? That's what I'm looking for. And so since I have a bunch of graphs with a bunch of little dots, I just want to find the one that does not pass the vertical line test, because that's how you do it on a graph. So, I want a function. So I want the one that does pass on this one. See, you gotta be careful. It's very easy to do the wrong one. So if I draw vertical lines, I want to find the one that has no vertical line pass through more than one point. So like if I have all these points, I should be able to draw a line through each of them and not touch more than one point at a time. So far, so good. Oh, look. That one appears to be the function, right? And if it was, I don't know, it looks blurry to me. I hope it's not in real life. That's a little better. Okay, so none of those vertical lines pass through 2 points or more than 1 point, which would make this a function. But just to make sure and clarify, let's go down and check these other ones, or in case you're thinking, okay, that didn't explain or show me an example of not a function. So I want to see what not a function looks like. So if that one is a function, the other 3 should not be a function. So let's check it out. Look, I draw a vertical line, and it passes a point here and here on the same line. So because it passes more than once, that is not a function. Okay, H. If I draw a vertical line, look, it already passes through 2 points at the same time, which makes that not a function. And my last one. So I draw a vertical line, and then I purposely put these on the line because I know people will skip that. But I want to make sure and point out sometimes they will do that, thinking you won't notice. But that one passes through more than 1 point, which makes that not a function. So my answer for this one is F. Which hopefully, if you're watching this video, that's not the grade you will get on this test, which is why you're watching this video. Okay, next page. I know I only do 1 page at a time normally, but 1 question, that's a waste. So I'm going to do 2 pages. All right. Number 9 says f of x equals 8x minus 5 and g of x equals 3x plus 4. How does the function value for x equals 4 compare for the 2 functions? All right. So it gives me a lot of stuff here. I have f of x, I have g of x, and then it says x equals 4. Okay? Which means I need to take this number right here, this 4, where it says x is 4. I take the 4, and I'm going to replace it for every single x that I see. Okay? We did this on homework. This was section 3 in the back. Okay, so when I put my 4 in for all the x's, for f, I get some answer. For g, I get some answer, right? So what I'm trying to do is figure out which answer is bigger, or if the answers are equal. Okay, so I can already tell you right now where it says cannot be determined. That's wrong. We can certainly determine this. We've done this before. This is easy. So that one should never be picked. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and do f of, now where I see x, right? I change it. I'm changing it to 4. So instead of f of x, I do f of 4 equals 8x is 8 times my x, which is 4, minus 5. And if I type this in the calculator, right, I can do it from here. It tells me my answer. That would be 32 minus 5 is 27. Okay, so if you need to check me on that, check it. Make sure, and this is a good practice too, you can write it correctly, but a lot of people will type something in wrong by accident, not even knowing, and so they get a different answer, which makes their answer wrong. So I keep seeing this. So if you ever are on these videos and you're like, oh yeah, I wrote that down too, and you don't type it in, you might want to practice, because sometimes practicing typing it in correctly will also be good for you, because who knows, you might be typing everything in wrong even though you have it written down right, and it gives you the wrong answer and you don't even know it. So it wouldn't hurt to practice typing that in. Okay, so now I'm going to do g of x. Okay, so there's f. So g, and instead of x, remember I replace x with my number, 4, equals 3x, or 3 times 4 plus 4. Okay, so again, you can type this in. I would do that to make sure you do it correctly. Okay, so I have 3 times 4 is 12, plus 4 is 16. Now, I did this on the homework, and if it helped, then do this on the test. Okay, I write my answers that I got above the f and g, right? And that way it's easier to see. I can tell what it is. So like if I put 27 up here, there's 27, and then I put 16 over here. Okay, I can easily tell 27 is greater than 16, which means I'm looking for my greater than symbol, which is a. They are certainly not equal, and 27 is not less than 16. Okay, so that's wrong. So A is my answer. So see, that one's not too difficult. It just takes a little longer than some of these other problems, because you have to plug it in twice and then just compare the answer. Okay, so that's number 9. Number 10, list the domain for the following relation. Again, keyword, domain. Okay, domain, as we know, we went over this earlier, is x. Okay, and if you remember, since these are all like h parentheses equals, I'm just going to use f because that's the typical one that people use. We know that f of x equals y, so we know that anything in parentheses is the x value. So if you need to, like we did with the ordered pairs, you can label x, y, parentheses is x, y, x, y. Okay, so I label all those. And since I'm asking for domain, which is x, I only want the x values, or the numbers in parentheses. So if I go through these, I have negative 16, 7, 0, and 10. Okay? So one thing that I have mentioned before, typically when I do this on the homework, if I'm just writing it out, I just write them in the order that I see them, because I have said before, the order does not matter as long as you have the right numbers. Okay? So for most people that do this, especially for tests, they'll put it in order from least to greatest. So these are not in order from least to greatest. If you go left to right, they're in different order. But again, the order doesn't matter. I just need those numbers. So look, I want to look for negative 16. F does not have negative 16. G has negative 16. H does not, and J does. Okay? So far I'm down to 2 answers, and I've only looked at one number. My next one is 7. I have a 7, I have a 7. Okay, that didn't help. Now I have a 0. G does not have a 0, but look, J does, and then my last one's 10, which is right here. So that makes J my answer. Because all I wanted was domain, I did not want range. Not this time. Alright, number 11. Determine whether the relation is a function and explain why or why not. Okay. So, remember, function or not a function is only if I have an x repeat, like the same x twice. So I'm going to label these. Ordered pairs are x, y. We did that earlier. Okay? So we have x, y, x, y, x, y, x, y, x, y. And so for a function or not a function, I only care about x, or the first number in each parentheses. Okay, so if I look at this, I have 6, 0, -2, 5, and 9. None of those repeat at all, which would make this a function. So the first thing I want to do is look at my answer choices. I know it's a function, right, because none of my x's repeat, which means A and B are wrong. Okay, now I just have to make sure and get the correct explanation. So let's look at C. So this is saying that these numbers are a function because an input has more than one output. Or in other words, an input x has more than one output y. What's any number more than 1? 2. So is it true that if an x has 2 y's, so one x has 2 y's, that is a function? So if I had, let's say 6, and I had 2 y's like this, so if 6 went to 2 and 6 went to 4, that would not be a function, right? So this is saying the exact opposite. So an x with more than one y is not a function, which doesn't match with function. So that's not true. Now let's look at D. Each input x has exactly one output y. Okay, so let's pretend this is gone. That's saying that each x, like negative 6, has exactly one y. And so it's like 6 is drawing an arrow to -2. I have no more arrows. And if I look up here, 6 only has that one y. There's no other 6 up here. And just like the rest of these, no x repeats, which means each x has exactly one y. Okay, they don't repeat, which would make that a function. So D is correct. So just to clarify though, each input has exactly one output is a function, which means if I look at the top two, let's say it were not a function, that explanation would not make sense. So each input has exactly one output would not be true. So it's not a function if something has more than one output. And it is a function if it has exactly one output. So they do this on purpose to try and confuse you, because you know it's a function or not a function. That part is easy. It's just knowing why is where people get confused and pick the wrong one. So function, exactly one output. Not a function, more than one output. That's the difference. Okay. Number 13. We have, oh, I'm sorry, not 13. Wow, I'm going to jump ahead. Let's not do that. Let's do 12. I don't want to skip anything. Evaluate the function when x equals -8. So look, it tells me x equals -8. And then down here, that's my function. So just like on number 9, I'm going to take this number, or -8, sorry, and I'm going to replace every x with that number. Okay? So I'm just going to write this over here because I have all this room. So now I'm going to have g of, instead of x, I write -8 equals 7x, or 7 times -8. And now I can just type that in, right? 7 times -8, -56. Hey, that was pretty easy. So I just need -56, which is all the way down here. So my answer is J. And I'm done with that question. And finally, the last one for this page. Find f of 6 given the function below. And it gives me a function. So f of 6, here's my function. Now, this is telling you to do the exact same thing as number 12. It just doesn't tell you in the same words. So remember, anything in parentheses is x. So this is saying x equals 6. Just like up here, it said x equals -8. I'm saying the same thing. I just write it different. So now I'm going to replace my x, or however many I have, all my x's with 6, and then figure out what answer I get, okay? So f of 6, right, instead of x, equals, equals negative 3 plus 11x is 11 times 6, and then minus 15. Okay. Now again, you want to make sure you type these in right. So I got a calculator also, because this is a longer question, and I could do it by hand, but I mean, if you can use a calculator on the test, why not practice using one at home? So I'm going to type this in starting after the equal sign. So I have negative 3 plus 11 parentheses 6 minus 15. Enter. 48. Okay. So 48 is my answer. And look, I have a 48 right here. And there it goes. Nope. Okay. It went to fix and then it screwed up. But anyways, my answer is C on number 13. And that's it for that problem. And that's it for this video.